Welcome back to Solo Adventures. My name is Livi, and I'm here back again with yet another print and play game review. So this game I'm going to be reviewing today, just like every other game that I've reviewed so far on this channel, is an entrant in the BGG Solitaire PnP contest for 2020. So the game we are taking a look at today is called Discover the Obscure. And this is a game that was designed by I'm not really sure how you say this. Hayalqrq? Hayalqrq. Designed by Hayalqrq. The Obscure A Sinister Adventure is a game where we take on the role of Luara, who is a young girl who is attempting to uncover the mystery of the horror that is haunting her town. And in this game we have to run around the city and attempt to find clues and fight monsters. As always, if you don't actually want to watch me play this game and you would rather just hear what my final thoughts are, then please feel free to skip to the end. Otherwise, let's venture forth. Okay, so before we create our character, I just want to read the opening flavor text that is in the manual to kind of help us set the scene here. So it says, Meridosia. The night hides unusual mysteries from the streets of Meridosia. From the deepest darkness of the region's dense forests, a sneaky mist sneaks into the city. Whispers spread frantic and intense as the cold advances, scratching tormented souls with convulsive shiver and bouts of madness. Animals respond aggressively in collective outbreaks of rabies, and it seems that not even between four walls is safe. They are signs, omens of an evil that rises powerfully after countless dying winters in the bowels of Meridosia, the dark. Recent and strange events have aroused more than suspicion, a general fanfare. It is not clear what has been causing the disturbing events, why so many animals appear dead or children has been disappearing, but it remains for this group of young people to discover the secrets of this city and put an end to the threat. So from what I can gather, there's some weird stuff happening in the city. There's children disappearing and animals getting rabies, so we need to figure out what's going on. So the objective of this game is ultimately to find a bunch of crystals, and when we find all of the crystals, we'll be able to find the Obscure, which is the monster that is hunting the city. So we have 3 different scenarios that we do, and we don't clear the board in between the 3 scenarios. So it just continues on. And even if we get all 3 crystals before we get to the 3rd scenario, we don't reach the Obscure until the very end, so we can just spend some more time leveling up and getting items. So in this game, we try to move around the city in a way that's not too unlike Eldritch Horror, and we try to collect clues and find the unique objectives for each mission. So first things first, we need to create our character. So we have 3 dice for our attributes, and we roll them. Okay, so I have a 6, a 5, and a 1, and I like the 6 and 5, but the 1 is not great because I can assign these however I want, and 1 is terrible. So I'm going to try rolling again, but then we have to keep this score. Okay, so 5, 5, and 1. So we're going to need a lot of force because we're going to be fighting. Will or instinct? Instinct will help us get clues. So maybe I want to do that to spawn them when we study. Or wait, no. Instinct is for investigating the clues to actually pick them up, and will is to spawn them. And also as a measure of our mental power against the monsters. So I guess our will is just starting rather low. So then to generate our stats, we figure out our health by rolling 1d6. So that's 4, and we add the 5 of our force, so that means that we have 9 health. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9. Then we figure out how much mental power we have, or psi, these little heads, and that is 1d6 plus our will, which is 1. So 4 plus 1 is 5. We don't start out with any money, which we can use to buy things later on at the mall, so we can buy items to help us. But yeah, we don't have any money right now. So then we need to take a look at the scenario book to see what our scenario is, how we're going to set up for it. Scenario 1. Before you start, set the creature force and horde to 2 and 3 respectively. So creature force is 2 and horde force is 3. Part 1. Chance Encounter. The early days of autumn in Meridosia were marked by horrors. News of 3 missing children aroused fear in the population, while disturbing events confused the authorities and all followed without explanation. For weeks in a row, Jonah and his friends noticed the incredibly dense, intoxicating fog, and it wasn't just the animals that had been acting strangely. Of the missing children, one had grown up with Joanna. She shared the fear to her pain with the group. Felt lost, but everyone pledged to understand what was going on and start a search to find her friend. After a conversation with the parents, the group was allowed to go to Alice's house, the missing friend. Who knows, with a little luck, they could find something. So it says the hero starts at the docks, and we are playing a character known as Luora, which is a little bit unusual because the story here talks about a character named Jonah and another character named Joanna. So I don't know if this is a typo, and but it is referenced that Jonah is a he and Joanna is a she. So maybe they are just a group of people and Luara is representing them all. I'm not entirely sure. But our hero starts at the docks, and we spawn 3 creatures and 3 clues. So whenever we spawn anything, we roll 3d6. And then we add them together. So this is 7, so I'm going to use these orange cubes for the monsters. And 15. So whatever this number is, we just match it up here. It's a little tricky because sometimes the numbers don't really make sense, so it can take a little while to find them. 12. All right, now let's spawn 3 clues. 8. 14. 11. Here we go. So on our turn we can take 3 actions, but I can only take each individual action once. So I can walk, attack, buy something, investigate, study, or do a monster encounter. The objective for this scenario is we need to investigate Alice's room, which is at space 14. So I'll take this marker here. There's a clue there. So we need to investigate Alice's room at 14, and if we pass, then we can spend at least 1 clue to advance to Loire's house, which is at 13, and then solve a will test. If we pass that, then we can get some adventure cards equal to the number of clues spent to move. So we'll worry about that when we get there. First we have to get some clues, and we need to get to Alice's house. So, when we move, we can move 2 spaces. So I want to get to a clue for sure. 1, 2. I don't have any money, so I can't go shopping. And I can't really do anything else, so that's me. Then I activate each clue, each creature, and each horde, and in that order. So the clues are all going to move to the nearest active space. So an active space is one that has a name, like Old Farm, Docks, Shopping, Square. So this clue is the closest to Old Farm, and now it's going to stay there. And this one will go to school. And this one will go to the library. Now the creatures get to move, and the creatures will always move in the direction of the nearest clue. So this creature will move here to this clue, and it'll gobble it all up. So we lost one clue. If we lose 10 clues, then we lose. Or of course if we reach 0 with our psi or with our health. So when the monster gobbles up this clue, he gets stronger. Actually, all the monsters get stronger, so we move from 2 to 3. This monster will move, and this one will go here. Then we roll an event. So we roll 1d6 and we resolve one of these. So I got a 5, that means I spawn a creature. So 13. Okay, so that's the end of that, and we can begin again. So if I attack the monster first, I have an advantage because I can use my force. If I am being attacked by the monster, then I have to be on the defensive. So it's advantageous to attack first if I can. Well, this clue is lost. I can't get there in time. I'm gonna try 1, 2, and that's all I can do. So each clue, this one's already there, there isn't another one. This monster advances and eats up this clue. The monsters are now at strength 4, which is the maximum. And this one will go downtown, and this one will move that way, and that will move this way. So not doing great. We definitely need to spawn more clues if we want to have any hope of getting enough of these, but I think that I'll be fast enough to get here. So now we roll for event. 1, activate the NPCs. So by that they mean everybody. So I assume that clue then means the clue is a person. And they're just staying at the library. The monsters will move 1 space closer. So like that, and like that. And it's my turn again. So I can move up to 2 spaces. I'm not sure if I have to fight the monster as soon as I enter his space. But maybe I do? Well, I'm going to try to get to school so I can research for more clues because I don't think I'm going to be able to get any luck over here. So I'm just going to go 1, 2. And here I can attempt to generate more clues. So I'm going to test my will at the school and see what I get. So a 4 or 5 or 6 is considered a success. I have a will of 1, so I can roll 1 die. 2, that was a failure. I do not get to generate any more. And I don't have any money. So, after I get to go, then the clues get to move, and then the monsters get to move. Nom nom, this one gets eaten up. And then none of the monsters move because there are no more clues. Oh wow, my will is terrible. So I could increase my will if I could run into a horde. And a horde is a group of monsters that are particularly difficult. Oh, I forgot to increase the strength of the horde. So when the monsters eat up the clues, it also increases the strength of the horde. So we started at 3 and now we're at maximum 6. So I need to defeat the horde in order to bring the difficulty back down. And if I defeat a horde, I will also be able to gain 2 extra points that I can spend to increase my stats here. Okay. I feel like I have to keep trying to study because I can't do this without a clue, but the events give us a small chance. I'm going to try to study and get a clue. Fail. And the monsters don't move and nothing happens. So I'm going to try again. Success! So I get as many successes, or I get as many clues as successes I've rolled, so that's 1. And I will generate it. Alright, 16. Alright, let's see if I can get there in time. So first comes the clues, and the clue is going to go against my better judgment and head to the square because that's the closest active spot, and then the monsters will all advance. Then let's do an event. 6. Spawn a horde. Oh joy. Okay, so we have 9. Where is the 9? The numbers are not always laid out in a way that makes sense. Okay, so that is that. I'm not going to be able to get to this clue because this monster is gonna get it. I guess maybe I should try to defeat the horde because that's really my only chance of getting enough successes to actually spawn enough clues so that I can get to Alice's house. So maybe I'm just going to go on the offensive. Go 1, 2. And fight this monster. So my force is 5, that means I get to roll 5 dice. And I rolled 1 success. The strength of the monster is 4, so that means that I take 3 damage, and I can decide if I want it to be like mental or physical. I'm going to take 3 mental damage. So I did not defeat this monster. We're going to continue to battle it out. So first the clues get to go, and this is staying at the square. Then the monsters will take their actions. So I'm going to test my will against the monster. That's very bad because my will is 1. 5. That is a success, but the creature strength is 4. So I still take 3 damage, and I'm gonna make it mental damage. So monsters move to the nearest clue. This creature goes here, this one goes there, this one goes here, the horde goes here, gobbles up the clue, but we're at maximum strength. So I do not want to stay here on this square because I'm clearly gonna die. Because there's really no way I can defend myself against this monster. If I do manage to defeat the monster, I can get 2 of my little attributes back. I can either get 2 health or 2 psi. So maybe I'm just going to try to run to the horde and try to beat it. 1, 2. So monsters can move 1. I will always be able to outrun them. And then we roll event. 6. Spawn a horde. Okay. 6. Okay. So what we're going to do now is we're going to move to the horde and we're going to fight it. So my force is 5. And I got 1, 2, 3 successes against 6, so that means that I take 3 damage. There's really no way that I can beat this horde though, because I can't possibly roll 6 successes when I only have a will of 5. So maybe this plan doesn't work so great either. Okay, well then the monsters get to move, and they move to the nearest clue, which there is not one. But the horde will attack me, and I have a will of 1. 4. So that is a success. The horde has a strength of 6, however, so I take 5 damage, and that kills me. So I lose, and I've lost pretty spectacularly. So what do I think about this game? Let's talk about it. Okay, so that was The Obscure. Let's break it down as usual. So first things first, we're going to talk about the build. Now, the build on this game was pretty easy. I think it takes a little bit longer to build than a lot of other games in the contest, but this was pretty easy. It was just a board and some cards and some tokens. The tokens, by the way, are completely optional. You can track things with d20s or paper and pencil, as are suggested in the manual, but I always like to have the full experience, so I of course made all the tokens. You didn't really get to see me use them, but there are tokens that also represent the different weapons and items and things that you can get in this game, as well as for money. So this goes without me having to say, but this game is gorgeous. I am in love with the color palette. I love the kind of 1980s vibe that I'm getting from this. I feel like the game is probably set in the 1980s because there's a Walkman that you can buy, and I just love the aesthetic. It's so pretty. If you want to play this game, I highly suggest getting it in color because it will make your experience so much better. The black and white is fine, but it's really like the neon pinks and purples and turquoises that I think make this really a treat to behold. So what did I like about this game? I appreciated that it attempted to have a story, because I love thematic games. I love that there's a setup, there's kind of a scenario, we have sort of a story-based goal that we're attempting to work on. So I love the whole idea of the theme of this game. I love being a high school kid running around a city trying to solve mysteries. It's a really great vibe. And in general, I just love thematic games. I love games that tell a story, and I like that this game really tries to tell a story. There's flavor text at the very beginning, and then there's, of course, an introduction for each scenario. I think it's great. I love that. I like that this game kind of feels like a small version of like Eldritch Horror. I can see that it's probably taking a lot of inspiration from Eldritch Horror, but it's a little bit faster, it's of course smaller, it's snappier, the movement is faster. I like the concept behind this game. Unfortunately, I do have some criticisms. What don't I like about this game? So I believe that this game is quite unbalanced, unfortunately. I've tried to play this a few times, and your success is very heavily reliant on what scores you roll from the beginning. And if you want to follow the rules to a T, you only have a chance to re-roll all of your dice once. You can't just re-roll some of your dice, or you can't just assume some of your dice are at a specific level. You have to roll them all. So in my case, you saw that I had a 1. And the 1 in will is not good, of course, because it means that you're very vulnerable to attack. But if I had put the 1 in instinct, then that means that my chance of actually investigating any clue and successfully picking it up would have been extremely low, so there wasn't really any winning in that situation. I guess the solution to this is to just ignore the initial rule and continue to roll until you get stats that are okay. I think what would have been better though is to not leave your opening stats up to chance. Like, everybody just starts with a 3 in everything. So, you know, you're not super great at anything, you're not guaranteed to win at anything, but there's plenty of room for improvement as you go on. And I think that particularly when you have stats that are already maxed out or very close to maxed out, defeating the Horde isn't really going to have much of an effect on you, because you don't really have any attributes to increase, at least in that respect. I feel like luck is probably the biggest driving factor in this game. It's luck that determines where the monsters are, it's luck that determines where the clues are, and where the clues and the monsters are changes things a lot, because of course if the monsters are close to the clues and you don't have a chance to get to them, the monsters will eat the clues and become stronger, and then they'll become even harder to defeat. So you can be very unlucky just straight off the bat. If you can't kill any monsters, you're not going to be able to heal, and you won't get any money, and you're definitely going to need money to fight the hordes, because at their highest levels, when they get to 6, it's impossible to kill the horde with just your basic stats unless you have a 6, of course, and you roll all successes. You're going to need to have some items to help boost that. And I think this is the same thing going forward. It's not entirely clear that if you die that the game is completely over and you're supposed to start entirely again from scenario 1. Maybe it is, and I think that's maybe how I would play, because if you have bad stats, even if you're lucky enough to get through scenario 1, I'm not so sure you can get through scenario 2. Another thing that I had a problem with this game, I think might be partly because the designer of this game's native language is not English. The flavor text is a little bit disjointed, and it's got some grammar and spelling errors in it that make it a little bit hard to get into the story. In addition, I don't really feel like the story is particularly absorbing. We're not really given a reason to care about these characters. It's not really clear as to how many characters we actually have. I mean, we're playing as Luara, but we're talking about Jonas and Joanna and Alice, and none of these other characters really seem to be coming into play here. Maybe the designer was intending to make more characters that you can play as, and that would definitely help to mitigate, I think, some of the luck if there was some kind of party combat system. So even if you have 1 or 2 characters that have very bad attack or very bad will, you would have somebody else to make up for it, but I have no idea how you would balance this. And the crystals are kind of random. It's not really explained how the crystals help you find the obscure, or why it's crystals. I know crystals are a very common video game trope, so that might be what that was borrowed from, but it seems a little bit random. Okay, so would I recommend this game? Well, technically I would recommend this game, because I think every game in the contest deserves to be played. I think that every game should have as many people testing it as possible, because my opinion is not the only one, and it might not be the correct one. Somebody else might have a much better time with this game than I did. But personally, I didn't have a lot of fun with this. I found it mostly frustrating, and not a lot going on with it really did much for me. The creatures that you are fighting and that are spawning are never really described. I mean, I can assume that they're Lovecraftian, because this game feels a lot like Eldritch Horror, and a lot of games have a Lovecraft theme, but there's really no explanation as to what the creatures are, what they look like, or how eating the people who know the clues, how that increases the strength of all the monsters, or why the monsters are going after the clues instead of after me. So like, if a monster is 1 space away from me and 1 space away from a clue, it's going to go straight for the clue and not for me. I don't know why. I guess they just have a sense for people who know things about them, or maybe the clues are objects. We don't really have an explanation for this. I guess if they were like artifacts of some kind, I could kind of understand it because maybe they're equipping amulets or something. I'm not really sure. The event phase is very strongly not in your favor. You have a very low chance of spawning clues or having anything good happen. Generally, the monsters are just going to get another move, or you're going to spawn more monsters or spawn a horde, worst of all. You didn't see this happen, but if more than one monster ends up on the same space, they like merge and make a horde. So that can cause even more trouble. So I think The Obscure is a game that has an extremely good premise, and I really like the idea in theory, and I think that there could be a really good game here if it was developed a bit farther. But at this point it feels really rough, unfinished, and too luck-driven to really live up to what its premise would suggest. Even so, if this game looks interesting to you, by all means, please do try it out. I think that it is possible to have fun with this game if the luck is in your favor. So, if I had managed to roll high from my stats, I think that I could have some amount of fun running around and fighting monsters and getting items and things like that. But it's just a very iffy proposition, whether I would have a good time of this or not. As always, this is just my personal opinion. I am by no means happy to give a critical review to an indie game developer. I think it's amazing whenever anybody puts anything creative out there, and I really am happy that they put their work into this game and shared it with all of us to try out for free. Maybe with a little bit of more work, this game would be something more along the lines of something I would enjoy. So thank you so much for watching this video. I really appreciate it. Please subscribe if you have not already, and if you would like, you could consider supporting me on Patreon. The link is in the description below. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.